Okay, so we're back for the second part of this four-part series. We're just going to look at the immune system, the different parts of the immune system, or different ways the immune system may work. In the first talk, we looked at human disease. What is human disease? And we looked at the solution to human disease being getting the brain back on top and switching off the immune system. So what the ways that we switch the immune system off and we get the brain back on top is quite complex. It's not necessarily the way we approach it generally. This is why people spend about 3 months with me. They come and we look at putting in the necessary foundations for forcing metabolic flexibility to occur in someone's in your biochemistry in your system. Now we need that to happen first before we can start looking at behavioural changes and so epigenetic changes. So rather than being a life coaching or change facilitation, this is actually more creating biochemical environment for change to actually happen. So it happens fully, rather than this yo-yo effect of things being good and then not so good. Whether that's diet good and then not so good, or weight good and then not so good. This is overall change. So let's have a look at how we generally perceive our immune system to be, and then expand on that without getting too heavy into the biochemistry of it. So the most common view, and probably the view that most people have, is that the immune system is very simply a first defense. So you have your skin, you have your eyes, you have your nose, you have the mucous membrane of your gut, and this is the sort of the soldiers, the first line of defense, the barriers that stop pathogens coming into our bodies. A pathogen being a microorganism that is said to cause disease. So anything like bacteria or fungus. At the moment, the focus is on viruses. So the idea is that then within the bloodstream we have white blood cells, part of our immune system, macrophages, and these attack the pathogen that comes in. So the virus, as it comes into the body, the macrophages attack it and kind of eat it, and it's left with a little bit of a residue, and we call that an antigen. Now, the next stage of the immune system, which we call the innate immune system, so the adaptive immune system, this then takes those antigens, it looks at them, and it then creates what we call an antibody. And it is the creating of these antibodies is then the defense against a virus, or a future virus, or the same virus coming back in. So we become immune. And this is the model that creates the rationale for using vaccines to enforce the creation of antibodies, and so create immunity against that virus. Okay. Now, it may come as a surprise to know that that's actually a theory. It's not fact. It is a theory. And so let's have a look at other theories of how the immune system may work. So if we take the approach that everything is connected rather than everything in the body is separate and works independently of each other, so the brain and the gut bacteria and the viruses are all interconnecting. Now this means that when you're exposed to a virus, the body does not. The body upregulates what is needed to combat the virus, but it also upregulates what it would need to combat any other virus that may come into the system. So it upregulates anything that would then interfere with a pathogen coming into the body. Now, this idea that other things are upregulated to interfere with pathogens presents that may be present at the time, and this gives the name to what we call an interferon system. Now, a healthy immune system would have no problem just firing up and dealing with problems as they come in, and we've done that for a long time in our history as human beings. We'll get a fever. Fever is a good thing. It's an indication of a healthy immune system, a really good fever. It's fast and decisive, and the immune reaction to any external or internal threat. But in reality, most people do not have a healthy immune system. We'll look at that in a follow-on talk. Now, it's not the virus that does any harm or kills us. It's the overreaction of our weakened or dysfunctional immune system that results in our own body attacking its own cells, our own cells and tissues and organs. A dysfunctional immune system is a result of underlying conditions such as obesity. We know all these, the smoking, the alcohol, but also there's the pollutants in the air, in our food. But probably the biggest cause of a dysfunctional immune system is actually a lack or a sudden change to social environment or relational environment of a person. So isolation actually causes the body to create inflammation, and this downregulates the antiviral responses that we have. So loneliness actually created either physically or psychologically, loneliness causes inflammation and a less effective immune system. Now, in this systems approach, if you like, if you have a weakened or dysfunctional immune system, the response will be an overactive immune system causing a cytokine storm, which is the cause of which is the case of the current virus, and what that is leading to is then respiratory distress, or the respiratory distress syndrome. Now, both of these initial ideas are germ theory, but again, it's theory. So, and this is what a lot of our practices or understanding of how the body works is based on germ theory. It has been for quite a while now, so 150 years or so, or 130 years. But let's have a look at how germ theory works with a virus. You have four basic stages. You have, first of all, the virus entry into the cell. This is the spiked part that we see on these pictures of the cell. It acts like a key, and it gains access into your cell through a receptor, the ACE2 receptor. You may have heard of a drug that was under quite a lot of controversy, particularly in the American press or on the social media side of things. Began with an H. But this particular drug, what the idea of that is, it actually interferes with this entry system. So it actually stops the virus gaining entry into the cell. That's the idea of that. So the second stage is replication. So the virus releases its blueprint, its information, its RNA, its code, and then the cell or our own cells have a type of photocopying device, ribosomes, and this then creates a copy of the code, the virus code. And then the third part is we reassemble it. So we get a protein sheath or shell, and we then put the code back into it, and now we have a copy of the original virus. So then the fourth stage is just releasing that virus back into the bloodstream, where it can then go out and go to other cells and replication again, and replicate and replicate and replicate. So the key within germ theory model is to stop the process happening, and this is what we meant by boosting your immune system. You may have heard that. Many people are talking about how to boost your immune system, for example. But this is what this is talking about. It's ways to stop this replication and the release of copies of the virus into your bloodstream. Now, there is another theory that I want to talk about, and it goes a little bit something like this. In this theory, a cold is actually a bacterial detoxification, where microbes very efficiently eat damaged cells that they see as waste products. And then we take a flu as actually a solvent detoxification. Now let me explain what this means. When the environment of our body is toxic, because of inorganic substances like pesticides and food additives, our bacteria can no longer break down the toxicity. And in fact, the toxicity itself destroys our bacterial cleaners. The bacteria is there to eat the toxicity in the system. But if the toxicity is too high, then it actually kills our bacterial cleaners. Now, the body then has to make a solvent to dissolve the waste tissues, and it can make sort of 300,000 different types of solvents for 300,000 different types of parts of the cell. So it's very specific, and it means that the solvent that is produced doesn't then destroy the whole cell. It just produces the part that it needs to. Now, these solvents are RNA or DNA at the core, and are surrounded by a protein coat. Now, they also maybe have an enzyme to help with initiate replication. And replication can only occur inside a cell. So it sounds like a story we've just told. Now, these solvents are classified into families of single and double acid strands, but basically what they are, they're described through their mode of replication as well, and not by the illness that they cause. Now, these solvents are called exosomes, or when we sometimes look at them, this is what we call a virus. Now, these exosomes or viruses do not have a nucleus. They don't have a circularity system. They don't have a digestive system. So they're not alive. They're just the solvents, the soaps. Now, they're made in our own cells, and they're as they are made in our own cells, they are not possible to transfer to another person, unless you inject it, maybe. Now, this story talks about how tissues have a natural detox cycle depending on the types of tissue and how contaminated it is. So we have our natural detox within certain tissues, maybe in the change of seasons, change of temperature, and some of these cycles run over a couple of years for certain detoxes. So there's a few theories to have a think about. And then what we'll talk about next time is what activates our immune system in our present environment, and maybe in the recent environment, the recent history that we've had, and what causes the immune system to become dysfunctional. We can then go on to talk about what it is that we can do right now to be healthier through this current time that we're living in. Okay, thank you very much.